Courtroom A.
How you going to say? You should be closer to you. Please. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Everyone is ready? I'll go ahead and sing them all in. Y'all are welcome to start.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll call the case of Bully versus Nichols, cause number 261000691. May I have counsel for plaintiff make your appearance, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. My name is Priya Wakama. I'm joined here today by my co-counsel, Stella Presti-Busick,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
by Lydia Ferris,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Afternoon.
and by Hannah Lund.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Together, we represent the plaintiff in this case, Miss Ellie Bully.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Your Honor, before we have pre-trial orders, did you want to hear appearances from the defense?
Yes, please, thank you, defense.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Isa Kidwai. Today I'm joined by Zoe Howe. Hello, Your Honor.
Hi.
Hank Standard
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
and Amelia Rush. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Collectively, Your Honor, we represent Tristan Nichols.
Hello, Your Honor.
How you doing? Okay, thank you. Pre-trial matters from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. Before we start, we just wanted to inquire on some housekeeping matters, your preferences for moving about the well. When we approach the witness, should we ask you first, or should we just, and when we have an objection, should we move to strike or assume strike?
You can assume straight, yeah.
Yes, Your Honor. We also wanted to bring your attention to a stipulation. Stipulation 17 says that Exhibit 1 and 2 are pre-admitted. Both sides further stipulate that Exhibit 1 and 2 are authentic.
All right, 1 and 2 are admitted.
Additionally, Your Honor, Stipulation 18 says that Exhibit 7 is also pre-admitted and authentic. That's a copy of the vows that the defendant in this case authored, and both parties agree that those are the accurate and authentic vows that were found on the defendant's computer.
Okay. It's admitted.
With that, Your Honor, ready to go?
All right, defense, any pre-trial matters?
Yes, Your Honor. Today we're representing Mr. Nichols in a lawsuit involving the validity of his prenuptial agreement with the plaintiff. In that regard, there are two precedents that we expect are going to become relevant in today's trial. The first one is going to be Varma versus Blackwell. It's going to be at the bottom of the first page of that case law tab. Your Honor, this precedent outlines that there's a legal distinction between a traditional marriage and a contract marriage, where two people will get married for reasons other than love.
All right.
Your Honor, the next precedent is Horvath v. Minzer at the bottom of the next page. That precedent outlines that before two people sign a prenuptial agreement, they have a duty to disclose all of their assets to their prospective partner. We'd like to note that if the marriage in question is a contract marriage, the standard for that disclosure of assets is significantly lower.
Okay, thank you.
Lastly, Your Honor, we'd like to make the court aware of a pretrial order that dictates the qualifications of certain expert witnesses. Specifically, the standards for Rule 702 have been satisfied for both Tara Martin and Lynn Meyer, who we expect will testify today.
Thank you.
With that, Your Honor, nothing further from the defense.
All right, thank you. Plaintiff, are you ready to make an opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
It's August 7th, 2022. Miss Ellie Bully is walking down the aisle in a gorgeous white gown. As she approaches the altar, she locks eyes with her fiance, soon-to-be husband, celebrity CEO Mr. Tristan Nichols. As they take each other's hands, Mr. Nichols delivers his vows. He looks in Miss Bully's tear-soaked eyes, and he says, "I love you, Ellie." I loved you too late. But I promise today that I will love you forever. But that's not how this love story remained. Members of the jury, we're here in court today because the defendant broke his promise when he broke those vows. You'll hear that prior to the wedding, Miss Bully and the defendant entered into a prenuptial agreement. By all accounts, this prenuptial agreement was rather standard. If the two were to become divorced, their separate assets would remain separate. Unless, however, the defendant acted unfaithfully or failed to produce a full financial disclosure. Members of the jury, you're going to learn that the defendant violated both of those clauses. You're going to hear that the defendant engaged in an intimate relationship with someone other than Miss Bully while they were married, an ex-partner, Gail Melki. You're also going to learn that the defendant failed to disclose substantial assets to Miss Bully prior to their marriage. Now, in today's case, the plaintiff has a burden of proof, the preponderance of the evidence. That just means we have to prove to you our case by 50% and a feather. So let's talk about how we're going to prove that the defendant broke his promise when he broke those vows. Because you're going to hear from an expert witness today, Mr. Tara Martin, a forensic accountant who examined the defendant's finances. He's going to follow the money. And he is going to show you that the defendant transferred $30 million into a shell company that he did not disclose to Miss Bully. Next, you're going to hear from Miss Bully herself. She's going to tell you about her love story with Tristan Nichols, a story that began with fake dating and ended with heartbreak following real love. She's going to tell you their story start to finish, including how she found out that the defendant was cheating on her. Now, in today's case, if either of those clauses were violated, this prenuptial agreement can be rendered null. Now, members of the jury, what may have started as something fabricated became something incredibly real, but ended in incredibly real heartbreak. Now, I suspect that in a moment, opposing counsel is going to come before you and tell you about something called a contract marriage. They're going to tell you that Miss Bully and the defendant were in a fake relationship. But you're going to hear that that fake relationship actually turned into real love. And how after the defendant was caught, his tune started changing. Because if Miss Bully walks out those doors winning today's lawsuit, Mr. Nichols loses $3 billion. As you listen to evidence, I want you to think about two things. What the defendant is saying now versus what the defendant was doing then. And at the end of today's trial, I'm confident that you'll find in favor of Miss Ellie Bully. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Defense, opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
The plaintiff has everything to gain and nothing to lose. Members of the jury, marriages are work. But most of the time when people say that, they're talking about the emotional labor. Because marriages, like all good relationships, they take time, effort, work to blossom. But in some cases, we can go ahead and take that metaphor a little bit further. Some marriages are work, members of the jury, because some marriages are business relationships. You'll learn that the marriage in today's case, it's just that. A business relationship that gave the plaintiff access to everything. Because back in 2022, when Miss Ellie Bully decided to marry Mr. Tristan Nichols, it just wasn't for love. Charm, romance, genuine feelings, they were never on the table. Instead of a fairy tale proposal, it was a financial proposition. Miss Bully, she could pay off her debts. She could show off her art and get the acclaim that she always dreamed of. And Mr. Nichols, on the other hand, he would get to give his mother the one thing she always wanted for him. A happy, stable relationship. I want to take this opportunity to properly introduce you to Mr. Tristan Nichols. This is Tristan. He's a son, a brother, and a friend. This February, he found out that his wife was divorcing him. Not only that, she was accusing him of infidelity. And that matters, members of the jury, because we expect it to become clear that the plaintiff and Mr. Nichols, they signed a prenuptial agreement before they got married. They signed that agreement because of their drastically different finances. If they ever were to get divorced, their finances would remain separate. You'll learn that we're here because they did, in fact, file for divorce. But instead of respecting the agreement that both parties agreed on all those years ago, the plaintiff decided to try her hand at everything. That's why we're here in court today, because the plaintiff has accused my client of violating that prenuptial agreement by being unfaithful and by improperly disclosing his finances. Since they brought this lawsuit to court, they bear the burden of proving that to you today by a preponderance of the evidence. What that means is that they have to prove that it is more likely than it is unlikely that Tristan Nichols did, in fact, become unfaithful in that marriage, and that he improperly disclosed his finances. Members of the jury, that's not the only burden in this courtroom, because we've taken on an affirmative defense today. We've taken on an affirmative defense to prove to you that it is more likely than it is unlikely that this marriage was, in fact, a business relationship. It's what's called a contract marriage. And that matters, members of the jury, because in a contract marriage, there are some different rules when it comes to prenuptial agreements. To show you that this marriage was a contract marriage, we expect Mr. Tristan Nichols to take the stand today and testify. He'll explain to you that as the heir apparent for a multi-billion-dollar grocery conglomerate, he's always had it pretty easy. He'll tell you that he wasn't always responsible with that expectation, but that when his family needed it most, he decided to step up, take responsibility, and find something stable. He agreed to settle down and get married by entering into that contract marriage with the plaintiff. To explain to you how those prenuptial agreements work, you'll get to hear from a financial expert today, Ms. Lynn Meyer. She'll explain the complexities and the reality of a financial disclosure for a contract marriage and a prenuptial agreement in that case. We expect it to become clear that Mr. Nichols in no way, under a contract marriage, failed to improperly disclose his finances. Members of the jury, at the close of evidence today, we expect it to become clear that it is more likely than it is unlikely that this marriage was nothing more than work. Business, convenience, and stability. That both parties agreed to this arrangement, that everyone's disclosures were sufficient, and that no one was disloyal. And that's why at the end of today's trial, we'll ask you to find in favor of Mr. Nichols. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Plaintiff, you may call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Tara Martin to the stand. At this time, permission to rearrange the courtroom.
Please.
And Your Honor, permission to set up demonstrative as well as well.
You may.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Sure. Hello, good afternoon. My name's Tara Martin. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
What do you do for work, Mr. Martin?
Well, I'm a forensic accountant. I've got my own firm, Cat's Eye Investigations.
How'd you get into forensic accounting?
Wasn't actually always my plan. I went into college studying jazz music and folklore, but in 2008, with the financial collapse, my family got hit pretty hard. I thought it was important for me to understand financial analysis to make sure that never happens to my family again.
And sir, what qualifies you as a forensic accountant?
I've got my bachelor's and master's degree in economics from the University of Wisconsin, go Badgers. I've got my certification as a CPA, and I spent 12 years working in financial wrongdoing investigations for the Morado Bureau of Revenue.
What have you been asked to analyze today, sir?
I was asked to analyse the prenuptial agreement between Mr. Tristan Nichols and Miss Eli Bewley to determine if there was appropriate financial disclosure or if assets were being hidden.
Sir, did you know the defendant, Tristan Nichols, before this case?
I did, and I'll be honest, I'm not a fan.
Why not?
A few years ago, I was investigating their family's firm for financial fraud. All of a sudden, as I was about to present my findings, my supervisor terminated my case, terminated me. Now, I don't know for certain if Mr. Nichols' powerful family was behind it, but I do believe my findings were true and deserve to be published.
Sir, earlier you said that you were investigating financial disclosures. Why is that important?
When two parties enter into a financial agreement, a prenuptial agreement, it's important to know what all their assets are so that if for whatever reason their marriage fails, well, we need to know what everybody owns to know where to allocate that money.
So what kinds of things does someone have to disclose?
Anything that you own more than 50% of. Asset hiding is when you don't disclose those things in a prenuptial agreement. It's actually fraud.
So in this case, how did you figure out whether or not the defendant was hiding assets?
I reviewed a series of documents, financial history. I spent 50 hours reviewing the financial history of Mr. Nichols. And what I did was looking at their transactions and conducted what's known as a transaction trace.
All right, so let's start with your first question. What assets the defendant actually had? You said you performed a transaction trace. What is that?
It's kind of how it sounds. You know, when a transaction is made, it's my job to trace back and see where that money was going. Let's say, for example, I look at your bank account. You made a purchase for $6.50. If I look even further, I can see you spent that at a Whataburger. If I look even further than that, I can see that every week you get a burger what its size. Now it's okay, everyone deserves a treat.
Sir, why did you choose a transaction trace as your method in this case?
This is the standard methodology in my field, that's why I used it.
Did you apply that standard method to the facts of this case?
Of course, always do.
And sir, you said that in a transaction trace, you can trace money back to where it's going. How exactly do you do that?
Yeah, I've actually brought along a visual demonstration to explain that. Is it all right if I step down?
Are you on permission for this witness to step down and show us that demonstration?
You may.
And Your Honor, may I reposition just to see what they're doing with it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
And your honor, can you see this okay?
I can, thank you.
Can you see it all right?
Cool.
All right, Mr. Martin. What are all these sticky notes for?
Well, since I haven't got $30 million to spare, we're going to use these sticky notes to represent individual transactions. Now, let's say this is Lionel Messi's bank account. Each sticky note will represent individual transactions and, well, overall, his entire financial history.
And what are all the different colors for?
When a transaction is made in an account, the bank marks it with a little destination stamp. Now, each of these colors represents a different destination. And overall, it tells us where Lionel Messi's money is going.
Okay, you have the transactions and those destinations. Where does your analysis take you from there?
The key here is to look for patterns, but everybody makes one-off purchases. Maybe a $5 at the gas station, maybe $50 on cleats, perhaps $100 on therapy if you lose us tomorrow. But the key is to look at overall patterns, right? Multiple transactions, all going to the same destination.
Sir, what are these patterns, these repeated transactions? Tell us about someone's history.
What it means is that this individual might be sending loads of money, again and again and again, to the same location. And if Messi was sending $1 million to an account in the Cayman Islands every week, I think we'd like to know why.
Sir, when you performed your transaction trace in this case, did you find any repeated patterns in the defendant's banking?
I did. Most were normal, disclosed, but two stood out. The first was an offshore bank account in Switzerland holding $10 million, with some nearby regular reservations at a honeymoon bungalow in Switzerland. But more
Judging the lack of
important than that,
foundation, may I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, he just made two conclusions. First, that there was $10 million in that bank account, and second, that it was near some honeymoon resort. There's no foundation as to how he knows either of these things, and we need to lay that foundation.
All right, problem. Go on.
Sir, you said that first you saw $10 million in a Swiss bank account and some honeymoon bungalow reservations. Did you find any other repeated patterns in the defendant's banking?
yeah, more interesting than that, I found $30 million, all going to a company called Secret Garden LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. You can go ahead and take your seat now.
Cheers, thank you.
Let's talk a little bit more about the Secret Garden LLC. Could you tell the members of the jury what it actually is?
It looked to be a private company, registered to a PO box in Delaware.
What kind of company?
That's the thing, it's private. You can't go online and look at who works there, what they do. It's not like a public company like Amazon. There's no website, no advertisements, not even a physical building for an office.
So without any of that, were you able to make any kind of conclusion about the financial structure of that business?
I was able to conclude it was consistent with being a shell company.
What's a shell company?
It's like a company that works like a savings account, just sort of holds money, takes in wealth and assets, but doesn't actually perform any business or transactions. It's a common practice that's used to hide assets.
Well, why did you think that this company, Secret Garden, was a shell company?
It's not just the lack of digital or physical presence. When you look at the corporate registry, started with a net worth $1. 3 years, went up to 30 million without any record of business activity, no money going out, no investments, nothing. Just one deposit made by the defendant.
Sir, who's the owner of this company on paper?
On paper, it's the defendant's assistant. I reached out to them, tried to ask some questions, didn't respond.
Any other board members?
No,
Employees?
none.
Then I want to move on to our second question today. Whether or not the defendant disclosed these assets. Sir, have you reviewed the financial disclosure the defendant made to their spouse?
I have.
In that disclosure, does the defendant ever mention a $30 million stake in LLC of a Secret Garden?
No,
Did you find any documentation showing they disclosed that money at all?
I found no evidence of that disclosure, no.
Sir, what's your final conclusion in this case?
Tristan Nichols and Ali Bewley entered into a prenuptial agreement. It was required that they make full financial disclosure. I found no evidence that Secret Garden LLC was disclosed to Ali Bewley.
Thank you, sir. Your Honor, we've got no further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor, would it be okay if we just scooted that stand back? Sorry. Not for cross-examination. Just,
More than just we put it
we
back.
can put it maybe in the little area between the.
We can move it out the way.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
May I proceed?
Please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, how are we?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
You're a CPA, right?
That's correct.
That means you're licensed with the state.
That's right.
You took an oath.
Yes.
You took an oath to act with integrity,
Right.
to act with professional ethics in your work.
To act with integrity, professional ethics, a whole load of things.
So certainly as a CPA, you shouldn't let your own personal feelings get in the way of your work, right?
Absolutely not. I try to do everything I can to mitigate that.
I want to see if you mitigated those feelings in this case.
Sure.
Sir, does the phrase eat the rich ring a bell to you?
Sure.
That's a phrase you included in your expert report for this case.
That's correct.
You said the phrase eat the rich when you were talking about Tristan Nichols.
Right. I understand that I have a personal history with the defendant, but that was the reason why I came onto the case. But my investigations were all professional and all objective in those transaction histories.
I want to talk a little bit more about your history with Mr. Nichols, sir. You think he's a corrupt person, don't you?
Not exactly, no.
Is it your testimony you don't think he and his family are corrupt?
Well, I think that in my experience, reviewing financial crimes of big billionaire individuals, it's quite common that they reach that point in unethical ways. At least that's what the data shows.
You think the company that he's a part of is among the most corrupt in the world, yes or no?
I do.
Then I'm going to talk about why you got involved in this case.
Sure.
So to be clear, Ms. Lay didn't approach you and ask you to take on this case on behalf of her client, did she?
No, when I was approached, I volunteered.
You volunteered at a party with the plaintiff, didn't you?
That's right. They came to me and I opted in.
So is it your testimony that the plaintiff came to you?
I don't remember exactly. They may have came to me or I came to them, but I opted in. I volunteered, if that's what you're asking.
Sir, do you want me to refresh your memory?
If you'd like to. What's your question?
Sir, you're the one who came to the plaintiff. She didn't come to you, right?
Sure.
Sure, sir? Was that a yes to my question?
Yes.
Sir, you approached her after hearing that she had been married to Tristan Nichols and was divorcing him, right?
That's right.
You approached her after hearing that she was investigating Tristan Nichols' personal finances, true?
Right. That's something I had done before, so it piqued my interest.
Well, actually, sir, it piqued your interest because you thought this case was a perfect opportunity to take this man down, didn't you?
I wouldn't use those words. But
You wouldn't use those words?
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Given my previous investigations into his family's firm and findings of financial wrongdoings, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for a takedown.
Sir, you think that this case would be a perfect opportunity for a takedown?
If financial crimes are happening, it's important to me that they're prosecuted. Yes.
You wanted to expose Tristan Nichols before reviewing a single document in this case. Isn't that a fact?
If he's done financial crime, then yes.
That's because you hate him.
Sure, I was very upfront and honest. I'm not a fan of him.
You personally blame him for getting you fired from your job.
Right, as I disclosed earlier.
You think that he got you blacklisted from government work?
Correct.
Sir, you have no proof of that, do you?
My boss hasn't got the ability to do that, so I don't really know exactly how else. That's my suspicion.
That's no to my question. You have zero proof that Tristan Nichols is behind that, do you?
Right, that's my suspicion based on the circumstances of who I was looking into.
Sir, you included a suspicion about Tristan Nichols in your expert report, despite having no proof of it. Is that a fact?
Correct. I wanted to be very upfront about my personal feelings, but once I got onto the case, all of my findings were objective in transaction histories. You can't change those.
I want to talk a little bit more about those objective findings in this case. You talked about a shell corporation on direct examination?
That's right.
To be clear, sir, the only reason Tristan Nichols would need to disclose that company is if he had majority ownership of it, right?
That's correct.
Sir, do you have a single bank record showing how much of that company he owns?
From the evidence I was able to find, that company was worth $30 million, and the only deposit that was made was from Mr. Nichols.
Well, sir, to be clear, you don't have a single document showing the ownership structure of that company, do you?
I saw the net worth of it, where it came from. It was 30 million, all from one person.
Well, sir, that wasn't my question. You don't have a document showing the ownership structure of that company, do you?
No, when it comes to hiding assets, it's not about finding a direct determination. It's about finding the most likely possibility.
Well, I want to talk about the most likely possibility. Sir, he's not even the CEO of that company, is he?
not listed as, no.
That CEO is an entirely different person.
Right. When people are hiding assets, they commonly don't write the name at the top of the page.
Then I want to talk about another thing that you mentioned. You talked a little bit about a Swiss bank account.
That's right.
Sir, who owns that account?
From my investigation, I couldn't determine a name, again, but that $10 million I was able to reroute back to the defendant.
You don't know who owns that account, do you?
We can't say for certain. It's a private bank account, and Switzerland's laws are, well, not in my favor. They're quite strict.
They're quite strict, so it could have been a family member's account, right?
It's possible.
You never asked any of his family members if they own that account, did you?
No, I didn't speak to any of his family.
Sir, there are quite a few things in this case that you actually don't know about those accounts you mentioned, right?
What do you mean specifically?
Well, sir, that company is privately held, that shell company you talked about, right?
You're exactly right.
So like we talked about, you can't get public records of it, can you?
Public records, no, again, it's private, not like Amazon where you can go online and see the employees and data.
Well, sir, you actually had a chance to sit down and ask Mr. Nichols some questions about those companies, didn't you?
You're exactly right.
You didn't.
Exactly. Given my importance in upholding my integrity of my work, I thought it might not be the best idea, given my personal feelings, to interview them directly. I'd rather look at the objective data, that financial history.
You just said you didn't want to interview him directly. Do you have employees at your firm?
Yes, I do.
Why not have one of them sit down and interview him?
Because those aren't objective, the response is self-interested. I'd rather look at the actual numbers. That's what tells us what the actual evidence is.
Sir, truth is, it's common practice in your industry to sit down and interview clients, isn't it?
That's right.
You didn't in this case because you thought it was a waste of time. Yes or no?
Correct. I wanted to separate my personal feelings from the investigation.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cheers.
All right, thank you. Any redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor. May Mr. Martin step down?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. As my understanding, the defense calls witness now, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the defense calls Minzer to the stand. We'll just need a moment to set up a demonstrator.
All right.
May I proceed?
Please.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Good afternoon. I'm Lynn Meyer.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a financial advisor and the managing director of BTS. It's a consulting firm here in town.
Where'd you go to school?
I originally got my degree in applied math from Northwestern, then I headed down south to get my MBA from Macomb. So, hook 'em horns.
Ma'am, after your education, how'd you start your career?
Sure. So right after graduating, I was actually immediately hired by BTS. I started by doing audits for small to mid-sized companies. Then I worked my way up to managing director.
What made you want to become managing director?
So early in my time at BTS, the company had some legal trouble. The company was named in a financial fraud suit and it was found liable. Frankly, that never should have happened. I wanted more oversight to make sure that the company was never put in that position again.
Ma'am, since you took over, what kind of work has your company done?
Sure, so nowadays we take on what we call ultra high net worth clients. We help them make investments, minimize tax burden, maximize profits. Right now we manage about 700 million in assets.
All right, then I want to talk about your involvement in this case.
Sure.
How'd you get involved?
I was hired to analyze Tara Martin, the plaintiff expert, specifically his analysis
on whether or not Tristan Nichols provided a complete financial disclosure.
Ma'am, when you were analyzing Tara Martin's review, what kind of materials did you look at?
I reviewed all the same financial transactions he did, as well as his expert report.
Ma'am, after you reviewed the exact same evidence that Mr. Martin did you agree with his conclusions?
No, I didn't.
How so?
Mr. Martin concluded that Mr. Nichols provided an incomplete disclosure to Eli Bully. I disagree. I believe that Mr. Nichols accurately described everything and disclosed it in his report.
Ma'am, then before we talk about your analysis,
Sure.
could you tell us what exactly a financial disclosure is?
Right, so if a couple decides to get a prenup, essentially, they have to give their partner a complete list of all their assets.
What kind of things would you typically put in a disclosure like that?
Unpaid loans, liquid assets, and most importantly, any significant assets that you control.
Are there any exceptions?
Like most things, there is. In the unusual circumstance of a contract marriage, you absolutely still have to disclose significant assets, but the bar for what's considered significant is lower than it is in normal cases.
All right, ma'am, so when we're talking about controlling assets, what exactly do you mean?
Well, it might be easier if I show you actually, Ms. Kidwai. Do you mind if I borrow maybe some sticky notes, whiteboard, and actually Mr. Standard, if you don't mind?
Sure thing, ma'am, we'll make it happen. Your Honor, permission for Ms. Meyer to step down?
Sure.
We'll
Thank
need
you.
Mr. Standard as well. All right, there's your sticky notes.
Thank you, ma'am. So let's say that these sticky notes, they're gonna be my money today. We're gonna use this money to show the assets that I control. To keep track of it, we'll write Meyer here. So let's say I use this money to maybe buy a house or a car, and for fun in the summers, let's say a boat, shall we? Now, these are all assets that I control. I own them. I decide what happens to them.
Could you give us an example of an asset that you don't control?
Right, you read my mind actually. So let's say I decide to give some money to my good friend, Mr. Standard here. Really, it could be for anything. A trust, medical expenses, a gift. In this case, let's say a business venture. Mr. Standard, if you weren't a lawyer, what would you want to do?
How about a soccer player?
Sure. So let's say I'm going to give Mr. Standard the money to make that happen. Maybe soccer lessons. Right now he looks better for basketball. We're going to keep track of Mr. Standard's assets here as well. I'll write his name. Mr. Standard, how much do you think your soccer lessons are going to cost?
$1 million.
Okay. Shooting for the World Cup, I see. For the sake of this, we'll say this sticky note, it's $1 million, right? Congratulations, you own it now. It's yours. I can't touch it.
All right, ma'am, so looking at all of this money.
Right.
Let's say that you had to put together a financial disclosure.
Sure.
What would you have to disclose?
So I'd have to disclose my house, my car, a Ferrari, if you will, my boat, and then any money I have left over. So the gift I gave to Mr. Standard, even though it started out as my money, once I gifted it to him, I lost control of it. What that means is that I wouldn't have to include that on my disclosure.
Thank you, ma'am. You
Thank
can
you.
take your seat.
I try not to spend it all in one place, Mr. Standard.
I will try.
All right, ma'am. Earlier we were talking about Mr. Martin's conclusions.
Sure.
And you said that he believed the financial disclosure in this case was not complete. What did he think was missing?
So Mr. Martin noted two things. First, he said that there was a company called Secret Garden LLC, and then a Swiss bank account. He said both of those should have been included.
All right, let's take those one by one, starting with that Secret Garden company.
Right.
Ma'am, do you think that Mr. Nichols ought to have disclosed that?
No, I don't.
Why not?
Well, Secret Garden LLC, it's a company that's privately held. What that means is that we have no idea what the ownership structure looks like. I absolutely agree with Mr. Martin
that Mr. Nichols made deposits into that account, but because it was privately held, we have no way of knowing who actually controlled that money, what its ownership structure looked like.
Well, ma'am, how about that second set of money, the bank account in Switzerland?
Right.
Do you believe Mr. Nichols ought to have disclosed that?
No, and it's actually for a similar reason. Switzerland has incredibly strict financial privacy laws. Essentially what that means is that neither myself nor Mr. Martin could access the owner of that account. To put it frank, Mr. Nichols could have been sending money to anyone for any reason. In the case that that account was his, he'd have to disclose it, but we frankly can't know.
Ma'am, in your review of Mr. Martin's analysis, did you find evidence that he sufficiently considered the possibility that maybe Mr. Nichols didn't own those accounts?
No, his reasoning essentially went that because Mr. Nichols made deposits to those, that meant he controlled the money. But like we said, we actually have no access to who controlled that company and who controlled that account. Because of it, we can't sufficiently say that it was Mr. Nichols who had decision-making power over it.
So based on your review of the evidence, ma'am, what was your conclusion in this case?
In a financial disclosure, you only have to conclude what you control. In this case, there wasn't enough evidence that Mr. Nichols controlled that company or that account. So there's not enough evidence to say that he had to disclose it at all.
Thank you for your time, ma'am.
Sure.
Nothing further at this time.
Thank you, Council Cross.
Yes, Your Honor, and then can you do something? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Ms. Kidwright, I also have your sticky notes if you'd like them.
How much do my software license cost, ma'am?
We'll say that's a stack about $2 million, ma'am.
All right, I'll win the Women's World Cup next.
May I proceed?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Ms. Meyer.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Meyer, let's pick up right where you left off. Because there's a couple of things you mentioned that I found interesting. You kept repeating this phrase, there's just no way of knowing who owned those assets. That's what you said on direct?
That's right. Secret Garden LLC is privately held. What that means is we don't have access to its ownership structure, things like stakeholders. And that Swiss bank account, because of financial privacy laws, we don't have access to the owner.
So the reason why you couldn't conclude anything in this case is because you didn't have those documents. There wasn't enough evidence, true?
That's right. Neither myself nor Mr. Martin had access to those.
Ms. Meyer, you actually know the defendant in this case, true?
I do. Mr. Nichols and I went to high school together.
Assuming you have his contact information?
No, sir. Or no, ma'am, I apologize.
You don't have the contact information of your friend?
No, ma'am. Mr. Nichols and I lost touch after high school. That was about 20 years ago.
Ma'am, is it your testimony you haven't recently spoken to the defendant?
Only recently about this case.
All right, when you spoke to the defendant, you just showed up randomly to his house?
No, ma'am. It was in preparation for this case.
So, ma'am, you do have contact information, true?
That's right, but only recently.
All right, recently you have gotten the defendant's contact information, true?
It was through his lawyers, ma'am. That's
All right, so you have that contact information.
His lawyer's information, sure.
Didn't think to shoot a text to ask who owns Secret Garden LLC?
No, ma'am. The scope of my investigation was limited to analyzing Mr. Martin's analysis.
Ma'am, would it actually surprise you if I were to tell you that the reason why you didn't have that evidence is because this defendant destroyed it?
Objection at this time to argumentative and stating facts on evidence.
Response.
Your Honor, I'm trying to see whether or not the witness knows that information.
Response, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, that information is not on the record. For Ms. Ferris to assert it as fact, that is a fact, and subsequently that this witness is not aware of it, that's argumentative because that information is not on the record.
I'll overrule.
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you be surprised to know that it's because of this defendant that you didn't have that evidence?
I know nothing about that, ma'am. You're right.
Your Honor, we're going to be reading a line from the defendant's deposition onto the record. Line 199, question. Are you familiar with something called Secret Garden LLC? Answer. I am. I founded it. Question.
Did you intentionally exclude Secret Garden LLC from your financial disclosure? Answer, yes. I did not think I needed to include it. Ma'am, before you came to testify, you actually had no idea that the defendant owns Secret Garden LLC.
He doesn't own it. Just because you founded a company doesn't mean that you're control of it.
All right, you didn't even know he founded it.
I didn't know that, no.
You just found that out.
That's right, but I knew that the owner of the company, it's actually not Mr. Nichols.
Ma'am, the reason why you didn't know that is because you never bothered to ask the attorneys of the defendant.
That's right, like I said, ma'am, the scope of my investigation was limited to what Mr. Martin reviewed.
Ma'am, you could have spoken to the defendant and asked for an interview, true?
Sure, but because Mr. Martin didn't, I didn't either.
Okay, so you chose to also not ask to speak to the defendant.
That's right.
Let's talk about why, actually, because there's a couple of things you didn't tell the members of the jury about your relationship to the defendant.
You'd have to be more specific, ma'am.
Ma'am, you two were friends.
When we were 16, sure.
You went to boarding school together.
That's right. We had a brass band. We did U2 covers.
You two were close enough that you had a nickname for the defendant.
That's right.
That's why when you found out about this case, you went to the defendant because you thought this could be an opportunity for you.
Not as friends, not in a personal relationship, strictly professionally.
Ma'am, because he was your friend, that's how you were able to reach out to him.
That's how I learned about the case, sure.
Now this case, it's become an opportunity for you. True or false?
That's right. Mr. Nichols, he's a pretty high net worth client, about $6 billion. It could absolutely be good for our company to have him, sure.
It's an opportunity to sit pretty for the rest of your days. Those are your words.
That's right. With an ultra high net worth client, that could absolutely be true.
It could be true if the outcome of this case goes well for the defendant.
Possibly.
Who are you testifying for? The plaintiff or the defense?
I'm testifying for the defense today.
All right, so let's talk about how far you're willing to go in this case. Because on direct examination, you mentioned that your company was in trouble. True?
That's right. A few years ago, BTS, we were named in a financial fraud suit and we were found liable.
That means you were found liable.
That's right. I was on the company team at the time.
Liable for financial fraud.
You have that right.
Ma'am, on direct examination, you never mentioned that this was actually still a win-win situation for you.
What do you mean?
On direct examination, you said that, let's see, what did you say? That never should have happened. That you felt sorry for that.
That's right. It was a result of extreme oversight on behalf of the team. I wanted to make sure it didn't happen again.
That's nowhere in this report.
No, ma'am.
You don't say you felt sorry for what happened.
No, ma'am. I didn't conclude my personal feelings in the report.
You didn't conclude that this was a company mistake?
I didn't, but it absolutely was.
But what you made sure to include is that the tax structure that you created off of this incident was a win-win situation.
You're getting things a little mixed up. So we did have to pay restitution for the case. We just structured those payments in a way to avoid some tax burden. That's right.
Am I getting it wrong? I'm looking at the words win-win. Did you not call this a win-win situation?
Specifically how we structured the restitution payment. Sure.
Babe, how many hours did you work on this case?
About 20.
20 hours?
I believe so, but that's, coming into court.
No, actually, before trial, how many hours?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, ma'am.
60 hours.
That sounds right.
You forgot how many hours you worked for this case?
Sure, ma'am. I have a couple cases on my docket right now.
That's okay. Nothing further.
Thank you. And you redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Meyer, in your review of the evidence, were you able to figure out who owns that secret garden company?
No. I understand now that Mr. Nichols founded that company, but founding a company and owning it, controlling it, they're two very separate things. Because it's privately held, we have no idea who controls it.
Ma'am, if you don't control something, do you have to disclose it on a prenuptial agreement?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Of course.
No further questions.
Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Thank you.
Okay, it's my understanding we need to take a 10-minute recess at this time. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor, for preparations for next witnesses.
Yes, and during that 10-minute recess, y'all can go ahead and make sure your ballots are filled out for the first 2 witnesses you saw. For runners, y'all have till 1:30. When you exit, you're gonna turn right, then you're gonna turn right again, and it should say restroom. It's right next to the food that we set up for judges.
Okay. That's right. This morning I went like in another building, so.
Oh goodness. Well, now it's easier.
you the vice president?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I think I got the emails.
Yeah, I probably emailed you a few times.
Yeah, 100%. All goodness. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming to judge.
Yeah, of course.
We're so thankful for all of you.
Yeah, and it's a labor of love. It's high school, college. So it's a good organization.
Well, thank you so much.
Are you looking to go to law school?
Hopefully. I'm hoping to go post-grad. I'm hoping to get my master's and then go into law school.
Gotcha. Very nice. You sticking around here or?
I'm going wherever it takes me, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But right now I'm studying mechanical engineering, and so I'm hopeful that Bill will pass some of the GPA requirements and be like, oh, good job.
Yeah, it's a tough course load for sure. So 100%. So that's an interesting mix though. Mechanical engineering, electrical. It's kind of two different disciplines.
It's like I'm about to invest in both worlds.
That's 100%
I get to
right.
be one version of myself in class, one version outside of it.
Nice. Is that where the passion lies? The Montreal?
I think so.
That's
A
good.
little more time than just calculus all day.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
There you go.
Sorry, I will keep it.
Nah, it's all good.
It's
all good. Yeah, I completed a Pepperdine first.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my team didn't go very far, but it was still a pretty blast. Yeah, he won like the 4 years. You Chicago. Nice.
Oh, that's
How about you?
a little Catholic school in New York called Sam University.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, that's a good big competition up there. You know, it's like the same circuits like Princeton and Tufts and all that. So it's good.
Which one's going through Texas?
Oh, we see it, thank you.
We're still waiting on one.
My dad's a that's awesome. Went to high school. I went from we're at the 16. I'm gonna say Andrews. Oh, that's great.
Let's get started.
I started in August, so I like to be. So it'll be good, but everyone wants to keep the first year. So
Is everybody ready to get started? Everyone's good?
All right, Leander, you have everybody back, ready to proceed?
Yeah, I'm gonna make this back, ready to proceed.
Defense?
As is the defense, Your Honor.
Okay, great. Leander, you may call your next witness.
The plaintiff calls Ellie Bully to the stand. You proceed.
Please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Sure. Hi, I'm Eliana Bully.
Ms. Bully, can you tell us why you're here?
Yeah, Tris, my husband, Tristan Nichols, he broke our prenup.
So let's start from the beginning here. What was your relationship like with the defendant before you got married?
We were just friends for a long time. I don't know, Tris he's one of the only people I knew who made me really feel like comfortable, seen. And not many people could really do that.
What do you mean not many people could do that?
When I was a little girl, I was a little boy. I didn't start transitioning until after I left home. You know, I moved to Murado. I started meeting new people, making new friends. I started buying clothes other than just old flannels. You know, I tried really hard to show people, you know, the woman I am, and I think Tris was the first person who really saw that.
So did you tell Tristan how you felt?
No.
Why not?
I mean, I wanted to, obviously. I just didn't think it really could happen. You know, with someone like Tristan, for me, I didn't think it would be even possible.
What do you mean, someone like Tristan?
I mean, we've heard throughout, apologies, we've heard throughout today that his family is very, very wealthy. They own this huge business, and they're very publicity focused, big on PR, you know, keeping up appearances. I definitely didn't think someone like me would ever fit in that world.
How did you go from just friends to Mr. Nichols' wife?
Well, first, he was telling me about how his family really wanted him to, you know, get married, settle down, and they wouldn't let him take over the business until then. So he asked me if we could get married, make a deal.
What do you mean a deal?
He said that if I would marry him so that, you know, he could take over the business, then I could focus on my art and would never have to worry about money.
So did you agree to the defendant's deal?
I did.
Ma'am, we have to be clear for the jury. Was your marriage, your whole marriage, just a part of that deal that you made?
No. I mean, it started that way. I think it's important, you know that, but that's not the whole story.
All right. So tell us the whole story. How did you two become romantically involved?
So after we started dating, we did a lot of kind of press tours, I did junkets, I had to do interviews. Very new world for me. I'm a pretty private person, and all of a sudden all these companies that I've never even heard of were asking for my favorite recipes, and I don't know, it was a lot, and I had to get hospitalized.
Why were you hospitalized?
It wasn't anything super serious, it was just fatigue. I think I was like dehydrated, exhausted, but I was really scared. I didn't really have anyone else except for Tris, and I don't know, I didn't know what to do.
When you were at the hospital, alone, scared, did the defendant visit you?
Yeah, he was my emergency contact, but he was away on a business trip, so I didn't think he would come, but he canceled it. It was this huge deal I've been working on for months, many millions of dollars, but he canceled it, couldn't see me.
When he came to see you and canceled that deal, was there press coverage?
No, certainly not.
Was the media following him?
No.
Did his mom show up at the hospital saying, I will make you CEO unless you visit your wife in the hospital?
No, it was just me, him, and there was a nurse too.
So what did he say to you when you were in the hospital?
So I told him, you know, I don't know if I can go through with this. It doesn't feel right. I mean, we've been such close friends, and I don't know, trying to kind of squish it into this contract, it didn't feel right. So, you know, I told him I don't think I can do this, and he agreed.
What do you mean the defendant agreed?
Tris said that he loved me. He said he couldn't bear to just have a contract marriage. We needed more. And I agreed too, so we started actually dating.
After you started actually dating, did you get married?
We did. It was August 7th, 2022, the happiest day of my life.
In any of the time between that contract relationship ended and before you got married, did this defendant ever disclose a company called Secret Garden LLC to you?
Absolutely not, no.
Did he disclose $10 million in a Swiss bank account to you?
No, ma'am, that is news to me.
What did he say to you?
He just said that he would always love me, as long as I always loved him.
Ma'am, were you here during the opening statements?
Yeah, I was.
Did you hear your husband's lawyers say that love was never on the table?
Yeah, they did.
Did you hear your husband's lawyers say that you had everything to gain and nothing to lose?
Yeah, it's not true.
What do you mean?
I lost everything because of Tris. We were married for years. I mean, I was living with him, we were happy. Things didn't change until Tris broke the promise he made.
What do you mean he broke the promise you made?
Cheated on me.
How do you know he cheated on you?
I don't know, he started being very distant after about 2 years of being married. All of a sudden, he was just always away on business trips and barely talked to me. You know, I tried to rationalize it. I thought he's a CEO, of course he'd be busy, it makes sense, but I just had this gut feeling I couldn't shake.
Did that gut feeling lead you to anything tangible?
Yes, it did.
What?
It was this year, New Year's Day. We just gotten home from a party and I was taking his coat back. I felt something in the pocket. It was this key card.
Do you know where that key card was from?
It was a hotel near our house.
Did you ever go to that?
Objection, Your Honor, to lack of foundation as to how Ms. Bowling knows where that key card is from.
Response?
Your Honor, the witness just testified that she knew it was from a hotel near the house. She's going to go on to testify how she tested the key card at the hotel and was able to confirm that it was from that very hotel. At this point, there's no
Yes, Your Honor.
confirmation. After you found that key card, were you ever able to find what it opened?
Yeah, I felt crazy. I immediately I drove to the hotel. I went through 3 floors. I was going one by one, trying to key on every single door, trying to find out what door opened until I found it.
Was there anyone inside?
No.
What did you find?
There was an empty bottle of champagne by the shower, and the bed was all disheveled and used, and by the floor next to the bed there was this crumpled up note.
What did the note say?
It said, "Gail, I'll love you forever. Tris."
What did you do when you found that note?
I couldn't take it anymore. I divorced him.
How did the defendant react when he found out that you were divorcing him?
He just went cold. I've never seen him like that. And he started just telling people that we've never been in love. We didn't have any relationship beyond just a deal.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you, Counsel Cross.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Bully, I want to start with what we can agree on. You and Tristan Nichols agreed to enter into a contract marriage. I have that right?
The contract relationship, the one we had at first, yeah.
You both agreed to enter into a contract marriage. That's what you wrote in your deposition.
When we first had that conversation about his family, yeah.
Well, let's talk about why you arrived at that decision. You had money troubles, didn't you?
Yeah, that was part of it. It would be nice to have the money and I could focus on my art. And I don't know, I guess selfishly I thought maybe any life with Tris would be better than one without him.
Hold on, you had money troubles. Mr. Nichols had the solution, right?
Sure.
You know that he needed to become married to become CEO of his family's company, right?
That's right.
And you were facing eviction.
I was.
You had $20,000 in debt.
It's true, art school didn't exactly return the way you would have hoped.
And that's what you only had a few $100s to your name.
That's true.
Needless to say, you desperately needed Mr. Nichols' money.
It was very helpful. I desperately needed money and he was offering, so sure.
Right, getting married to a multi-millionaire, well, it suited your needs then, didn't it?
Of course.
So you and Tristan, you built up appearances. I have that right?
Yeah, at first when we were trying to, establish ourselves, we had to go on all of these kind of media coverage tours. That was a lot. And
It's not just media coverage tours, right?
Sorry, what do you mean?
You had no private dates at all.
Yeah, we were in the spotlight a lot. We did a Vogue home tour, Architectural Digest, all these kind of publicity events.
Well, it wasn't just magazine covers, though, right?
Sure, and we did pretty much everything I could think of.
I mean, you would go on very public dates for the exact purpose of being photographed. I have that right.
Yes.
And now you're here in court today telling us that you two were really in love before you got married.
Yeah, like I said, we'd been friends for a while. We started the agreement at first, and once he confessed in the hospital, things changed and it started to get real.
Miss Bully, you remember having a very lavish wedding?
Yeah, we did.
You remember having a very lavish wedding, quote, for the sole purpose of appearances?
That's true. I felt like a princess.
Okay, you said that it was for the sole purpose of appearances. I have that right.
Sure. That's why it was so huge, yeah.
I want to talk about the marriage because when the pair of you got married, well, you both signed a prenuptial agreement in which you each had to disclose your assets, right?
Yeah, we did.
Miss Bully, you were aware of the possibility of assets outside of that disclosure.
What do you mean?
Miss Bully, you were aware of something called Secret Garden LLC.
I didn't know what it was. Frankly, I still don't.
I know you're telling us you don't know what it was. You knew about it.
I knew that it existed, yes.
You could have looked into it. I have that right.
I guess I could have. I don't know anything about, I think the shell companies is the word.
Miss Bully, I'm not trying to trick you. You wrote in your deposition, I could have looked into it. I didn't see the need.
Yeah, I don't really understand the specific details of, the transaction tracing stuff.
So you knew it was a thing that you could trace the transactions for?
Oh no, that was my first time hearing it today.
Okay, so you had no idea what it was?
Yes, exactly.
But you knew it existed?
Yeah, I just saw it mentioned on some sort of paperwork I saw laying around.
Okay, so you saw that paperwork. You also thought the Nichols family might have some money overseas?
Sure, I really didn't know.
You didn't look into that either, did you?
No, I'm not an investigator.
Then you started telling us you had a feeling about infidelity, right?
Yeah.
Miss Bully, you did not speak to your husband about this, did you?
Not before I filed the divorce. And yeah, like I said, I've been feeling crazy for a while before everything at the hotel. I thought I was just imagining things. Thought I was just reading into it.
Well, hold on, Miss Bully. You'd agree with me that Tristan could have had explanations for all the things you thought were suspicious.
Up until then, yes.
Miss Bully, this is when you were deposed. You agree that Tristan could have had explanations for all the things you thought were suspicious.
If I would have talked to him before I filed for the divorce, maybe, but...
Now you're in court telling us you found a love note in a
Your Honor, we just ask that this witness be allowed to finish the answer to the question.
Sorry, where were we?
And Miss Bully, you're here in court telling us that you found a love note in that hotel room, right?
Yeah, I did.
That's pretty convincing evidence of an affair, right?
Certainly.
So surely you brought it to court.
No, I don't have that note.
Ms. Bully, you understand that you and your attorneys have the burden of proving infidelity today.
That's what they said. I have to admit, I was not thinking about a lawsuit, a divorce when I found that. I was just thinking about Tris. I just felt so stupid, that I had thought that nothing could get in between what we had. I thought, finally, someone who loved me for who I am, and be ashamed of it. And
Ms. Bully, I'm going to stop you there. That wasn't my question. You understand you have the burden of proving infidelity today.
that's right.
You did not bring that love note to court.
No, I don't have the note.
Ms. Bully, you were here when your expert testified, right?
Yes.
I want to make this clear. You didn't hire Mr. Martin, did you?
No, I wasn't involved in all the specifics of the lawsuit. That's what the lawyers do.
You weren't involved in the specifics. He approached you at a party and asked to testify.
Yeah, and so I put him in contact with our team.
But you agreed because your interests align, don't they?
Yeah, he's very qualified and
You
I'm
heard your
certainly
expert
not.
say that he wants revenge against Mr. Tristan Nichols.
That's right.
That didn't stop you from having him testify.
No, like I said, he was very forthcoming in his report, and he was very convincing with his evidence, and he did very thorough work.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bull. Nothing further.
Thank you. Redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor. We just asked that Ms. Billy be allowed to step down.
You may step down. Defense, you may call your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Defense counsel calls Mr. Tristan Nichols to the stand.
Thank you.
Could you please introduce yourself to the court?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tristan Nichols.
Where are you from, Mr. Nichols?
I'm from right here, Buckler, Murado. You know, I grew up here. It's also where my family's business started.
Do you work with your family's business?
I do. I took over as CEO of the Nichols Food Group. We're one of the largest food-based conglomerates in the world.
Are you close with your family?
Of course. You know, it's just my mom and my sister, so we really look out for each other, even if our family's a little bit different than most.
What do you mean?
Well, it's different. You know, being a Nichols, the expectations are a little bit different. My mom didn't create one of the most successful businesses in the country without a little bit of grit. You know, growing up, my whole life was on one path, and most of it was sticking to that path.
Mr. Nichols, do you know why we're in court today?
I do. My partner, Eliana, filed for divorce.
I want to take a step back. Can you tell us why you two got married in the first place?
Of course. The shorter answer is for my mom, for our company, for my career. The longer answer starts a few years before that. I was a teenager.
Why?
When I first moved away from home, I started to lose control. Some of the stress that came up with growing in the Nichols family, started to get to me. I remember my doctor prescribed me something to deal with that stress, and wasn't really enough.
Why not?
Addiction. It can feel like a hunger that you can never get through. And I didn't realize I had a problem until my car was wrapped around a tree off the highway.
What did your family do?
Overnight, I wasn't the bright young star anymore. I was the scandal. The cover-up my mom had to organize, and it felt like I could never make things right again with her. That is until her diagnosis.
What was the diagnosis?
Moderate Alzheimer's. I had never even seen her sick before. Suddenly, I wasn't just looking out for myself. I mean, I had to take care of her. I had to take care of my family. That's when she gave me her ultimatum.
What was it?
If I wanted to take over the Nichols company, she wanted me clean. Because she didn't think I could do that by myself, she wanted me to get married. She insisted I get married.
Get married to who?
That didn't matter. At the time, I was with Melki, but it was really bad for me. Mixed up in a lot of the same stuff I was. I wanted a clean start. No strings attached, no mushy feelings, something realistic.
What do you mean?
I was at the lowest point of my life. I didn't have time to imagine, falling in love. What I needed was a lot to put on a person. And I wanted whoever it was to know exactly what they were getting into.
What did you do?
I wanted a contract marriage. It's not exactly something easy that you can stumble into, I was dealing enough with my mom and with taking over the company, so I sort of just fell into it.
How so?
I met Eliana at a Nichols gala. She was a caterer. She kept talking about wanting to be an artist. And she seemed convinced her big break was right around the corner. And I thought, maybe the universe has a funny way of pulling things together.
What do you mean?
My mom has always been an awfully serious person. But as her symptoms progressed, she became fascinated with painting. I mean, collections that had been boxed up my whole life were suddenly scattered around the house. I thought if I could help Eliana and she could help me, well, maybe that would make things right.
What was your relationship like, Mr. Nichols?
Our relationship was good. I mean, at first, it seemed like the media loved us, my family loved us. It wasn't so hard, playing make-believe.
When did you two get married?
It was about a year later.
Mr. Nichols, I want to be clear. Were you straightforward with Miss Boley about what kind of relationship you wanted?
Of course I was. Our relationship has and always has been a business partnership. If Eliana wanted more than that, she certainly never told me that.
At that point, why did the two of you decide to enter into a contract marriage?
My mom kept getting worse. I mean, she was in Switzerland getting the best care possible, and still she kept getting worse. I mean, if she wasn't there to see me get married, then what was any of this for?
Mr. Nichols, I'd like to move on because earlier today we heard a lot from Mr. Martin about payments to a Swiss bank account and Secret Garden LLC. Are you able to respond and describe to us exactly what Secret Garden LLC is?
I am. There is a reason Secret Garden isn't a publicly traded company. That Swiss bank account, as well as Secret Garden, are set up to support my mom's care and treatment in Switzerland.
Earlier, plaintiff counsel asked Ms. Meyer about disclosing that company. Why didn't you?
My mom has been the face of the Nichols Group for the last 25 years. Our stocks rise and fall with her health. If investors lose faith in her, they lose faith in our company. And if it got out that my mom had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's before I took over as CEO, our company never would have recovered.
Mr. Nichols, why were you putting your personal financing into this company, Secret Garden LLC?
I haven't always been the perfect son. I have fallen short again and again and again, but to pay for my mom's treatment, that's something I could do.
Mr. Nichols, did you hear plaintiff counsel ask Ms. Boley about the nature of your relationship?
I did.
Can you respond for the jury and provide your own description of the marriage?
Our relationship was a partnership, a contractual partnership. It was nothing other than that.
Mr. Nichols, earlier today, we heard an excerpt from your wedding vows. If this was a contractual marriage, why did you say those things?
I know it's hard to understand, but that wedding, it wasn't for us. It was for my mom. I wanted one of my mom's last memories of me to be that I was happy, that I was in love, and that I had everything she had ever wanted for me.
Mr. Nichols, earlier Ms. Boley testified that you visited her in the hospital. Why did you do that?
Well, we weren't in love. I wasn't cold-hearted. She was my business partner and a friend. Of course I was there.
Mr. Nichols, did you ever write a love note to someone named Gail Melki?
Of course not. Of course not. I heard what she was talking about, going into a hotel room, but I never wrote any sort of note. I wasn't even seeing Gail.
Mr. Nichols, did you even hear about this love note before trial today?
No, and I wish she would have told me. I wish she would have just talked to me about it. I could have explained. I could have told her I didn't know that note, but she never talked to me.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. No further questions.
Thank you, Counsel. Ross?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Nichols, I want to cut to the chase.
Okay.
You need to win today's lawsuit.
I mean, certainly, that would be for the best.
Because if you lose in court today, you're out $3 billion
That's right.
Your mother will ensure that you're removed as CEO of the Nichols Group?
That's not true. That's what she keeps bringing up, but my mom doesn't work there anymore.
It's your sworn testimony that your mother wouldn't convene the board of directors to oust you as CEO?
No, that's true. She would try, but like I'm telling you, my mom hasn't worked there in months. She keeps saying that she's going to get the board back together, but she's talking about people. She's talking about people who haven't worked there for years.
Becoming CEO of the Nichols Group, it was your one singular goal, right?
Of course. Growing up as a Nichols, you have one goal, and it's to make the most of what my mom and her dad did.
You'd have done anything to become CEO.
Of course.
Just like you would do anything to win today's lawsuit.
Of course, I did right by my family, and I'm willing to tell the truth and tell you everything about my personal life so you understand that I did.
You're not just willing to tell the truth, you're willing to do anything, right?
Yes, ma'am.
With that in mind, I want to talk about what you said today.
Okay.
Because you looked at the members of the jury and you said that your relationship with Miss Bully was fake.
It's contractual. It's a business arrangement.
Right, that it was a contract marriage.
That's right.
I want to talk about what you did in the past.
Okay.
You've gotten into a literal fight with an investor after they insulted your wife, right?
Of course. I mean, once again, while we weren't romantic, I'm not cold-hearted.
You testified.
Eliana is someone that I care for as a friend and as a partner.
You testified that your relationship was about putting the business first, right?
That's right.
Well, I want to talk about whether you did put the business first, because you forewent that investor's $1 million investment, right?
That's right.
You nearly lost your job as vice president of finance when you visited Miss Bully in the hospital.
That's correct. It was a hard decision to make, but I mean, someone needed to be there.
Even though you said becoming CEO of the Nichols Group, it was your one and only goal.
That's right. And Eliana was part of that. She was the agreement and the promise I made to my mom.
When you got married, you gave your wife a wedding gift on camera.
That's correct.
But you also gave her one in private.
Yeah, I wanted to thank her for, understanding what we had going on and understanding how we could best take care of each other.
This gift, it was a discontinued painting set.
That's right.
The paint set, it was sentimental to her.
Yeah, I think she used to own it growing up.
In order to get that set, you had to acquire the manufacturer because it was discontinued.
Yeah, they used to do paints and sea monkeys. It wasn't a big deal.
You acquired the manufacturer so you could dig through their warehouse for this paint set.
That's correct.
At your wedding, you delivered vows.
I did. It was a big media thing. My mom was there, of course, and I wanted it to feel just as real for her, but we highly publicized it.
I'm reading from Exhibit 7, which is already in evidence. I remember I said on one of those nights, we could get married just for the money, just for the fame, just to make my mother happy. I thought we could just lie about being in love. But standing here now, looking ahead at the rest of our lives, the only thing that would be a lie is to say that I don't love you. I love you, Ellie. I loved you too late, but I promise today that I'll love you forever. Those were your words, right, Mr. Nichols?
That's right. At our highly publicized wedding, those were my words.
I want to talk about finances.
Okay.
As part of your prenuptial agreement, you had to provide Miss Bully with a full financial disclosure.
That's correct. If anything I control, own.
You're familiar with an LLC called Secret Garden?
Yes. Secret Garden was set up to support my mom's treatment.
And we'll talk about that in just a second, but you're the founder of Secret Garden LLC, right?
Yes, that's correct.
You intentionally excluded it from your financial disclosure.
That's right, it's not something I own, it's not something I have a majority stake over, so there's no reason to include it.
You've been in trial with us all day, right, Mr. Nichols?
Yes, ma'am.
That means you were here when Mr. Martin, he took that stand.
I was.
He testified about $30 million in Secret Garden LLC.
That's correct.
An expert forensic accountant described Secret Garden LLC as a shell company.
That's what he said, but if he agreed to sit down with me and let me talk to him and let me tell him what it was, he would have known better.
I appreciate that explanation, and I'm sure you can go into it more with Ms. Rush, but that's a yes to my question. An expert financial accountant described Secret Garden as a shell company.
Yes, ma'am, Mr. Martin, who has been trying to take us down for years, said that.
You can't actually prove what Secret Garden was, can you?
No, I can't.
You can't provide any documents about Secret Garden.
That's not true. I provided them to your expert, Mr. Martin, today.
You can't provide any documents that show the ownership structure of Secret Garden.
No, ma'am, he didn't ask for those.
That's actually because you destroyed all of that paperwork, right?
That's not true.
Is it your sworn testimony you didn't destroy that paperwork?
Ma'am, me personally, I did not destroy any of that paperwork. I understand it got lost or destroyed when my assistant was moving offices, but I never destroyed anything.
I'm now reading a portion of the defendant's deposition. So sorry, Your Honor. Question, do you have any paperwork confirming exactly what Secret Garden LLC is? Answer, no, I do not. I think all that paperwork was destroyed when we cleared Yuxi's office. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor, just briefly. If I can ask first how much time we have left.
You have 27 seconds.
Thank you. Mr. Nichols, did you ever personally destroy any paperwork?
Of course not. It's not my job to clear out someone's office. I'm the CEO, not an assistant.
Did Miss Bully ever ask you about Secret Garden LLC?
No, and I wish she did.
Did Mr. Morton ever ask you about Secret Garden LLC?
He refused to speak to me.
Do you control Secret Garden LLC?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
All right, thank you. You may step down, sir.
Thank you.
Anything further from the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor.
Yes.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, great, thank you.
Judges, just let me know once you've submitted your ballots.
Okay.
Perfect.
It's just like the loading, is it supposed to load past that?
It just did it. Perfect.
It's not simple.
It just happened.
That's it.
Yours is in. Perfect.